Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBit Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having a great start to your day. I want to talk about the top 7 stocks ETFs that I see value in for this upcoming week. I hope it's something that you guys all together enjoy. And let's go ahead and get right to it. So one thing that I want to show you guys, for those that are following up with my video, about 7 hours ago, I kept you guys up to date that when I was in Salt Lake City, I kept you guys up to date with my overall profit for the day. Feel free to check out this video. I was up $1,200 on the day. Altogether, I ended up closing the day a little bit over $2,000, so $2,082.85. Again, I traded 2 ETFs, UGAS and DGAS, and I'll show you the overall profits. Here we go. The profits for UGAS and the overall profits for DGAS are right here. So altogether, a little bit over $2,000. Super happy on how it turned out. Now I want to talk about, not a lot of things change. I trade almost the same things week after week. You guys should know that already. We had a couple people posting jokes of, like what they are predicting my stocks and ETFs to trade. Although it's funny, right, to kind of like try to guesstimate like what it is that I'm going to see value in for this upcoming week. I want that to be kind of like empowering, right? Again, I'm a creature of habit. I like to focus on what makes me money, and I've been doing very well. Feel free to watch any of my videos last week. I had my most successful week trading last week. Closed a little bit over $13,000. In one day, I made a little bit over $6,000 just trading UGAS and DGAS. I want to talk about these series of different stocks and ETFs that I put together for this week, why I see value in them, and focus on the pattern. I hope in the way that I do that pattern recognition, why I see value in them, why I'm talking about them, and why I'm keeping a close eye on them is something that you guys see value in. So I'm going to start off with ticker symbol TQQQ, right? So altogether, this is a NASDAQ ETF. So when this shows signs of an uptrend pattern, or when NASDAQ shows signs of an uptrend pattern, then TQQQ follows. There's an inverse ETF. All you have to do is put an S in front of it. So SQQQ ends up pushing up when the market sells off. There's no question that the market has been selling off big picture like majority half of this year, right? So we could see that there was a very aggressive sell-off. We could see this with companies like Facebook, right? We could see this with companies like Amazon. We could see this with companies like, multiple tech companies especially. They follow a very similar pattern to what we're seeing going on right now with these NASDAQ ETFs such as TQQQ. Now, the question to ask yourself is this going to continue? Looking at this overall descending pattern that we've been seeing with this thing making lower lows and lower highs, its overall direction is not in our favor. But what is something that happened this week that it hasn't really done in recent patterns? It's this SMA line. This SMA line was acting as a resistance. It normally acted as a support for ticker symbol TQQQ. And it was acting as a support when this thing was making higher highs. We could see that it would consolidate normally right around that general area. Very easy to identify good entry points and good exit points, right? Being able to use the MACD, the RSI, and then the SMA indicator, you can get a pretty decent understanding of when to get in and when to get out, big picture. One of the things that we're noticing now is that, okay, it's been showing signs of an uptrend pattern. It recently broke above the SMA line. What's to expect? What's to expect to happen? RSI is super overbought, something that you have to take into consideration. So I think that a pullback is bound to happen, right? No question about that. Now, when it comes down to where it's at right now, it's been validating based off recent patterns, right? The past 10 days, it's been validating this EMA line. It pushes up, it pulls back, but it stays true. It stays above this EMA line. Great. So for this pattern to continue to make higher highs, we would expect TQQQ to continue to stay true to this EMA line, continue to bounce on the EMA line, and then continue to make higher highs, and we can identify and use the RSI indicator and the MACD indicator to represent that, or to give us a better indication of that. If this thing begins to sell off, it breaks below the SMA line, which is this green line that we see here, and it breaks below this EMA line, then we could expect that, hey, it's following or staying true to its overall recent patterns of making lower lows and lower highs. And then this thing can possibly continue to sell off, and most likely all the other tech companies will follow as well. That's my breakdown on TQQQ. As of right now, yes, it is showing signs of an uptrend. I think that it needs a pullback confirmation before it continues to uptrend. And then if it doesn't bounce, then it most likely will begin to sell off, and then that's when we can follow, SQQQQ, or with 3 Qs and stuff like that. So the next one is ticker symbol DNR. This one was brought to my attention just due to this very aggressive sell-off that it had. It was showing signs of a downward pattern. Again, it recently just made not higher highs, but based off previous patterns, it was not just breaking above the EMA line, but not only did it break above the EMA line, but it actually began to make higher highs altogether with its recent pattern. So I set a series of alerts. I just think that this one's a little bit interesting to watch for it to try to come back up to this overall SMA line as it's been selling off. I would still treat this more as a day trade rather than a swing trade, but altogether, just understand that it was a very aggressive descending pattern. If you see this thing break below the overall EMA line, then that would be a break of pattern and I would completely stay away from it. It had a very strong day today, means that a red day might be in its near future. Again, just try to understand a pattern or a potential indicator that is showing signs of an uptrend if you identify any, and if so, if it breaks that pattern, then that means that that pattern is most likely no longer relevant. So again, just something that we want to take into consideration. So all right, next one, UWT. How many of you were able to benefit from the huge push that DWT offered? DWT has been uptrending since the beginning, right? What is that, October, right? Beginning of October. Well, it's been uptrending a little bit prior to that. It was a very aggressive descending pattern and its overall direction changed, right? So if you look at /CL, we could see that it offered a very similar pattern. Crude oil futures and overall just the ETFs were aggressively selling off. Now we're starting to see a potential reversal of pattern. What is it that would make sense for us to identify or keep a very close eye on? Let me go a little bit back to UWT. What was it getting rejected by? And you guys can mess around with the EMA indicator. If you feel like the length of your EMA is too aggressive and you want to loosen it up, then be sure to make your EMA line a little bit larger if this is a big focus that you're going to have. But pretty much, it was getting rejected by this EMA line. It was really struggling to make higher highs. Easiest way to put it. Now, how do we know if this thing is going to change directions? If it does exactly the opposite of what it was doing before. It was showing signs of a sell-off, and now it's showing signs of a potential reversal. Again, there's 3 stages that we've talked about in a reversal. There's the rejection, then there's the consolidation, when it kind of just flatlines and offers a horizontal pattern for a little while, and then when it begins to actually make higher highs. That's when it would make sense for us to actively take a position on it. I just wanted to talk about it as it's at that point where a lot of you guys might be thinking about taking a position. This is just a friendly reminder that yes, it is above the EMA line, but now we need to wait for that pullback confirmation and for the higher highs to form. So before you go on and dump all your money into something and just hope to swing trade it, let's wait for a little bit more confirmation and just make sure that we get that reassurance that the direction is in our favor and that it doesn't just end up going and selling right back off again and making lower lows. Again, that just means that you need to be a little bit more patient and just give it a little bit more time. Same thing when it comes down to this LABU pattern. LABU was showing signs of a very aggressive sell-off. Based off recent patterns, it's approaching this overall SMA line that's acting as a form of a resistance. RSI is super overbought, super overextended, but it is showing signs of an uptrend. So a very common question that I was getting today is, hey, is this an indication of a reversal? No. Yes, it can continue to trend up as it's been doing it based off of recent patterns, but there's no question that it's super overbought. So what would I do? If you see value in it, I probably personally will not be trading this, but it is showing signs of an uptrend and it can continue to trend up. There's no question about that. Just as much as it could sell off. So understand that. So what has it been doing? It's been staying true to this EMA line. So if it breaks below the EMA line and it breaks that pattern, then it's no longer relevant. It makes sense on why this thing would pull back before it continues to uptrend. So just make sure that you're patient for that. Look at the MACD, look at the RSI. And then the last thing is, let's just wait for that confirmation of the higher highs. If we get that confirmation and we can do that average up approach, then that would make sense. Understand that because it's so overbought, the risk is that much greater if you plan on holding it. It doesn't make sense on why this would be such a great swing trade when it's so overbought. It would make more sense that if you see intraday opportunity when it's trading between the middle and top VWAP and showing signs of an uptrend, and you feel like, again, the 3 principles, you're getting a good deal, you understand the pattern and the margin of profit is worth it, then yeah, all power to you. right? But does it make sense to swing trade it? No, because it also makes sense on why this thing can continue to sell off and give back more than it can recover based off of previous patterns. That's all I wanted to say about this one. And then ticker symbol UGAS. Do you guys see this pattern where it sells off, pushes up, sells off, pushes up, sells off, and then it would make sense on why it might push up a little bit? So one thing that we've been seeing is that there's been a lot of consolidation, especially around this overall SMA line for natural gas. I did pretty well altogether just trading UGAS itself. But one thing that I want to make sure that you guys understand are the different factors that influence natural gas. Right now, as I'm actually literally like right before I went live, we saw that natural gas just broke a little resistance right around that like, that 440 area. And now it's showing signs of it making higher highs. This might be something attractive just because it had a very aggressive red day today when it sold off all during pre-market hours, that it might try to recover during, tomorrow and maybe the days that follow. So that's great if the pattern is offered as like if it's trading between the middle and top VWAP, but let's make sure that we understand that it's been extremely volatile. Look how aggressive this has been. We've had a lot of people, and I've tried to express it time after time. I am solely day trading these ETFs. I've been solely day trading these ETFs for the past 4 weeks. No swing trades, not once. Why? They're too volatile. They're unpredictable as of right now in the direction that they're really going. And if I see an opportunity within the day, great. I'll take advantage of it because I could manage my risk. But overnight, I don't know what's bound to happen. And during this season of natural gas and during the winter months, it's extremely volatile. And that is why I don't feel comfortable holding it. So that's my 2 cents. If you feel comfortable holding it, all power to you. We've been getting so many questions. Why don't you hold it? Why aren't you swing trading? Because I don't feel comfortable. That simple. As of right now, I see natural gas a little bit more on the oversold side. I could see 1 or 2 green days that follow. Altogether, we're approaching, the last winter month. Well, we have January still, but then moving on to the spring. So looking at the 3-year chart for natural gas, just look at overall patterns and when we tend to peak out. Just make sure that you have taken that into consideration. That natural gas can continue to trend up, but during this end of the year months, then it begins to slowly start to sell off and then not be as volatile, right? So again, just my 2 cents on that. Here we go. Gush. So this is one that I would look at /GC to go off of. Again, there's a lot of people that are going to give their opinion about that specific index that follows a little bit closer to Gush and to Drip. I don't like using indexes. I like to look at futures when trading a series of ETFs. That's my preference, my opinion, and that's why I'm talking about it. But altogether, Gush was showing signs of a very aggressive sell-off, while ticker symbol DRIP was aggressively pushing up. It looks like now the patterns are possibly changing. Again, how do we know if this is going to continue to sell off? As it makes lower lows and lower highs. And it might bounce around the SMA line just like it did based off of previous patterns. So the same thing when it comes down to Gush. How do we know that this is going to continue to uptrend? When it makes higher highs and higher lows. That's simple. And what might act as a resistance? The overall SMA line. Just looking at previous patterns, that's simple. If you see opportunity within the day, great. I would take advantage of it. If you don't, then guess what? You don't have to take advantage of it. And you don't have to swing trade any of these if you don't feel comfortable with them. I probably would not. But same thing with this overall correlating JDST and gold-based ETF. They've been extremely, extremely volatile. Look, all the way down here, sub 70, then it pushes up above 80, and then it pulls back to like low 70s, and then it pushes right back up to overall 80, and then it pulls right back up. Again, that's a lot of volatility. That's great for intraday plays, so day trades. And if you set them up right, and again, you're very selective with your entry points, you could do very well. But if you're quick to jump the gun, if you just like to get filled and you don't care about your entries, then most likely, because of the volatility, you're probably not managing your risk very well. You're going to take losses. And on top of that, your overall experience with trading, especially day trading, will probably be not up to par. And again, you might not just be at a point where to actually start investing real money. And that's why you should probably start paper trading. The correlating ETF or feature that I use for JDST is /GC. So let's just make sure that we take that into consideration. As you can look at during extended hours how /GC is trading and how that correlates on over to JDST. So that's pretty much it for today. Let's see if we have any open-ended questions that are relevant to what we are talking about today. Hey, what's going on, Will? I just got your little gift I just got your gift today. So Will got us some TechBud Solutions ping pong paddles. I really do appreciate that. I love them. So, okay. All right. Sounds good. So it doesn't look like we have too many open-ended questions, but let's see. Thoughts on you guys? I literally just talked about it. All right. Thank you guys again so much for your time. Hope you guys all have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this live stream. I'm getting a little bit congested again, so I'm not too sure if you guys can hear that. But altogether, let's keep it consistent. Let's continue locking those profits. We're doing an exceptional job. I received so much feedback today of people that did exceptionally well. Again, if you're having trouble staying green and you continue to overtrade or not manage your risk, then you probably are not ready to invest real money. So what do you need to do? Stop trading with real money. I got like 2 or 3 direct messages today of saying like, hey Ricky, I'm still holding ticker symbol DGAS. It's selling off. It's my 3rd day in a row. What should I do? You should have managed your risk like we've talked about and expressed every single day. Just because you have access to money does not mean that you should invest it. You need to learn how to trade before you take advantage of these opportunities. The only way that you could identify a good opportunity is if you understand what it is that you're doing. And if you don't understand what you are doing, then you should not be trading. It's that simple. Like, I can't stress that enough. But yet so many people are so quick to just jump the gun. And all power to you. It's just going to bite you in the butt. Right? So altogether, guys, hope you guys all have an amazing week. Let's lock in profits. Let's say more no than we do yes. And let's make sure that we do our best to, take advantage of these quality positions, the ones that you see value in and no one else. Thank you guys again for your time. All the links are down below. I do want to give you guys a little friendly reminder. I believe it's the 5th link in the description. If you guys are using the Robinhood platform, be sure to click that 5th link. It's a free blog that we have, and it's Robinhood Basics. A lot of like market FAQs on what the Robinhood app has to offer, the different benefits, the downsides, and a little bit more about that. So feel free to check that out. We cover a bunch of questions and FAQs just about the stock market. So I really hope that it could guide you in the right direction. And again, if you want to watch me trade live every single morning, be sure to click that first link down in the description to learn a little bit more on how you can watch me trade live tomorrow. Thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I earned your thumbs up. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy.